you filthy swines! Get in here, sit down, behave yourselves. We're going to read some news. If you've watched Joe Rogan, he talks about all sorts of stuff like ayahuasca and DMT or whatever. It sounds pretty mind-blowing, particularly the fact that there are experiences people have that seem to be shared across completely separate people. So there is a theory that there are these entities called Machine Elves that exist in some kind of higher dimensional conscious realm that you visit when consuming DMT. Well, there's a twist here. Are they friendly or not, these elves? We'll find out in this article from afru.com, written by Afru staff. I don't think there's a specific person here. I'd like to credit you. I'm going to try and be respectful. This is funny, but, the authors may not have laughed writing this. Psychedelic privilege. Are DMT entities racist? DMT users often come across strange beings called machine elves, dispensing advice and adventure. They were thought to be benevolent, but we can no longer ignore the black DMT experience. Oh dear. I hope it's not too bad. Let's see. Safe and recreational drugs is one of the many important cultural contributions that folks of color have made in the 20th century. Whether it's responsible Hennessy drinking or the cornucopia of culture that is cannabis, we invented it long before white folks prostituted it to consumerism. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that word there. No, that was a word we'd use in this context, but here we go. But there's one drug that's unquestionably and uniquely shrouded in whiteness. It's a white drug, if you will. We're not talking about cocaine, it's DMT. I think you can have it too, though. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Moving on. Everywhere you look, you can find the whitest, chiseled men singing the praises of DMT or related psychedelics, from Joe Rogan to Post Malone. And in case you expected it from all the white men being involved, the truth is that there are unsurprisingly hidden layers of racism here. There's racism everywhere. Everywhere. You see, DMT may be shrouded in whiteness nowadays, but like everything else that you think is white, the drug actually has Latinx origins. Yes, clearly jealous of their lacking cultural contributions in the sphere of recreational drugs, white folks decided to just outrightly culturally appropriate one. So I'm not allowed because of my skin. Okay. I don't like this take. Fancy gatekeeping drugs like this. You can't have those. They're Latinx. If you remove chiseled white men from the equation, then you'll find that DMT actually has a history much richer and more diverse than a hardtack cracker. To understand the Latinx history of DMT, you first need to understand ayahuasca. To put it short and sweet, ayahuasca is the main psychoactive ingredient in DMT. Ayahuasca is a natural plant that naturally grows in nature, just like marijuana, meaning it's safe. It's been used for centuries by the indigenous peoples around the Amazon basin in spiritual rituals. Get your filthy snow monkey hands off it. So that's pretty neat. But we've only scratched the surface of DMT. Something you'll quickly learn if you travel in the right psychedelic communities online is that DMT actually gets kind of creepy for black folks. I'm sorry to hear that. For some reason, black folks around the world have experienced a similar racist phenomenon when taking DMT. But to avoid diluting their message, we'll let their testimonies speak for themselves. Testimonies about DMT entities from people of color. I wonder if perhaps some of this, before we dig into it too deep, is a difference in the wiring of our brains. Perhaps people of African descent react differently to DMT, and that's what is causing it. Just pretending that there are no machine elves, which is a crazy thing. Of course they exist. Maybe it's just in your brain. One common phenomenon across DMT experiences or trips is coming across DMT entities called Machine Elves. Who called them Machine Elves, first of all? There are walking, talking creatures that one encounters when taking DMT. The term Machine Elf was coined, by ethnobotanist Terence McKenna for the entities he encountered in DMT hyperspace, also using terms like fractal elves or self-transforming machine elves. McKenna first encountered the machine elves after smoking DMT in Berkeley in 1965. Sometimes the creatures are friendly and reveal a deeper truth about the universe, or they might take your hand and bring you on a journey. But unfortunately, that's not the experience many black folks have reported. Black folks can't even escape the scourge of systemic racism in the DMT realm. No, those bloody elves. One person reported that their first trip was good, but their second trip took a turn for the worst. This time, instead of the sacred, I was greeted with the profane and saw cartoons of racist caricatures mocking me. They were malevolent, and it felt like I could die, they reported. As much as the first trip was welcoming and accepting, the second trip was pushing me away, and I felt a strong sense of no. My friend said that the elves are making a machine, and they turned around, saw him, and they said, "Hey, look, the N-word is back," another person reported. Really? These bloody elves? Are these the same elves that help make Santa's toys? The most chilling experience reported so far involves the powerful imagery of the slain Emmett Till. I was surrounded by the elves and they all started chanting Emmett Till. The trip report began. I later learned that Emmett Till was a black man accused of harassing a white girl in the 1950s. I had never heard of this story before, being a black man who grew up in a white school district. Then the elves started to rush me, and they all picked me up and started chanting the N-word while carrying me, like a bloody frat party of elves. The elves threw me down a black hole, and I continued to fall for around 10 minutes until my trip ended. I don't know why they can't just be nice. Anti-black spiritual warfare. One possible explanation for racist incidents while taking DMT is that the occurrence of racist DMT entities isn't entirely accidental or coincidental. Considering the Latinx origin of DMT and ayahuasca, it's not completely outside the realm of possibility that these racist entities are extensions of conflicts happening in the everyday realm, a sort of spiritual turf war going on between the Black and Latinx community. I wonder if it's also part and parcel with some negative sense of self, perhaps, wherever that comes from, whether it comes from systemic racism or from yourself. If you have negative feelings for the world around you, perhaps when you are in a psychedelically active state, you are reflecting that negativity back to yourself, maybe, if we're removing any supernatural element from this. This is the inevitable and direct results of white supremacy. Okay, mean elves is white people's problem. Okay, we can definitely say this because it's something that happens not only in the realm of the spiritual, but also the realm of the physical. White men take all of the resources and land, leaving the Latinx and black community to fight amongst themselves for the scraps. I don't know, I think most of the world is actually not white, so I'm not sure that's true. I think, how are we classifying white people? Is this going to also include Asian people? Are Chinese people white people? Because they have an awful lot of land and they seem to be doing all right over there. And South America is all Latinx, if you want to use that word. I'm not sure. This just seems as if you are amplifying your own fears here. Ideally, both groups would band together to fight against their oppressor. Bloody elves. But that's not the case as long as the waters are muddied and we all fight each other. Exactly, we should unite, be friendly, and not think the worst of each other. Still, let's not discount the fact that some Latinx men are willing militants in the fight for white supremacy. Just look at some of the recent shootings in the US committed by Latinx men. Yes, Latinx men might have some intersecting oppressions of their own, but they're still favored in the patriarchal white supremacist system over black folks who are at the bottom. I try to judge people on their own merits, and these bloody machine elves should, be kind and stop oppressing black people in the DMT realm. That's my opinion. You can take that to the bank. Internalized oppression. Another possible explanation for racist DMT experiences is that some black folks, specifically the type of black people who are male and would watch someone like Joe Rogan, are just subconsciously racist against fellow black people. Yes, maybe. Maybe they have some self-loathing. The occurrence of these racist DMT elves could be the result of internalized oppression felt by lonely incel black men and teenagers who are convinced by their racist white friends to consume racist media like Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson. I don't think they're racist at all. But I think perhaps you have a different definition for racism, white supremacy, DMT, elves, and everything, maybe. I think perhaps we're not singing from the same hymn sheet here. The DMT entities then dance to their subconscious tune like blackface minstrel shows of old. You really are triggering a whole bunch of horrible imagery there. Also, consider that one table with one racist and a group of other people is actually a table full of racists. What are we saying here? No, absolutely not. No. If there's one racist at a table, that doesn't mean everyone at the table is a racist. That means that one racist is a racist at a table. That you don't get to tar everybody at that table with the same racist brush because there's one racist person. Is that what you're saying? I'm very confused there. If you choose to associate yourself with racists and tolerate racism, then you are a racist too. This also applies in the spiritual world. If you choose to surround yourself with racist DMT creatures and keep returning to their realm, then by Occam's razor, that means you're racist too, even if you're a black man. I think I need to see your definition of racism. I think your definition of racism isn't necessarily tied to the person's race, would be my guess. I think you're recasting patriarchy and such as racist. That would be my guess, and not actually race. Are DMT beings AI? The idea that we are all living in a simulation is a fairly credible scientific theory at this point. Simulation theory suggests that the probability of our existence being derived from one of the billions of simulations running inside a physical universe is much higher than the probability of us being one of the physical intelligences in the root universe. In addition to probability, there is also evidence that the universe around us doesn't really exist until we observe it. Not spending processing power on what you don't need to render is a basic video game optimization technique. There are a lot of similar theories, and you should do your own research on it. The point is that there's a possibility that reality as we know it isn't really reality. If simulation theory is real, what does that make of DMT entities? Are they part of the simulation too? I think the easiest explanation here is that the DMT entities are actually kind of like NPCs or robots. Programs. This explanation is likely the truth because we already know that AI programs are inherently racist. Oh no, what's going on with this article? Are they? DMT being linked to AI isn't a novel concept I just came up with. There are numerous related anecdotes and theories circulating online. AI programs are inherently racist. Well, I'm guessing this is based upon your definition of racism, which isn't about people's race. It's about sociology and opportunity and patriarchy and stuff like that. So this is breaking my brain here. Some AIs have exhibited racist results. Principally, one good example is Google Gemini last year or the year before was pumping out a whole bunch of anti-white artwork, which perhaps to you would seem as if it were a equitable rebalancing of representation, maybe. So you maybe might see that as being anti-racist and a good thing. I don't. I like to think that we should base our civilization upon a solid foundation of reality and not delve into that muddling of stuff. So yeah, there are examples of racism amplified by AI, but I haven't seen any negative towards black people. I'd like to see it. If you've got any examples, I'd like to see that. Please show me. And I'm taking you serious. These are your fears. They're not mine, but I'm taking this serious. This really brings me to the conclusion that that technology we see up there on DMT or even other psychedelics is essentially AI in its infancy stage, and we too, alongside with it, are in our infancy stage, emerging out of the womb of matter and into more of a liquid, malleable, loving reality. I know there's a lot of scary stories out there about AI, but this is the closest thing that seems to make sense to me. That we both evolved together and that the digital nature of reality is burst through matter over and over again. There is no time, it's easier to see it clearly. You might have been whacked out whilst you wrote that. Some kind of substance inspired you there. I don't know. If there are entities in the DMT realm and you are going into some kind of hyperdimensional conscious realm, maybe they just live there. Maybe our souls come from there. Maybe. I don't know. DMT entities being AI programs would also further prove that we are living in a system of systemic racism. The creators of the simulation literally created racist AI entities to torment black folks, as if it wasn't enough that they created a world that is inherently racist in almost all aspects. Whatever the full truth of DMT elves really is, we just have one piece of advice for black folks. Please stay away from this drug. It's not safe for us, was ever thus. P.S. Support great journalism by buying this sweet swag from our sponsor. All right. This sweet swag is of a couple of white ladies. Who is the target market for this article then? Your merch is platforming white people. This is definitely hating on white people. I know you're saying this is those DMT elves are mean and racist and stuff. An interesting article because I agree with it not at all. I don't know. I mean, if this is just a drug that is altering your state of mind, then perhaps whatever baggage you're bringing into that experience is being amplified by it. Having a bad trip based upon negativity that you hold, self-loathing and such, would drag that into that trip. That, to me, would seem like the most even keel scientific Occam's razor approved explanation there. Saying that the Machine Elves are racist, it's bloody crazy. They shouldn't be racist. Stop being racist, you blummin' Machine Elves. There's no reason for that. There's no call for it. Be good. Good elves. Yeah, this is a mind blower of an article. But there we go. Bloody Machine Elves. They're racist and stuff. But that is it for now. Make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe if you can. The best place to subscribe is x.com/ultraswinery. And the only thing I have left to say is Pigwig out.
Oink, oinkity, snort, snuffle, snuffle, squee, oink, oink, ree, squeal, snort, snort, oinkity, squee. Oink, 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 squee, squee, ree, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 ree, 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 oh. Snort, snuffle, oink, squee, squeal, ree, snort, oinky, oinkity, oink, oink, snuffle, ree, squee, snort, oink, squeal. Oink, 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 squee, squee, ree, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 ree, 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 oh. Oink, oinkity, snort, snuffle, snuffle, squee, oinkity, oink, oink, snuffle, ree, squee, snort, oink, squeal. Oink, 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 squee, squee, ree, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 ree, 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 oh. Squeal, squeal. Snort, shuffle, oink, ree, squeal, ree, snort, oinky, oinkity, oink, 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 snuffle, ree, squee, snort, oink, squeal, oink, oink, oinkity, squee, squee, ree, 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 snuffle, snort, squeal, squeal, oinky, oink, snort, snort, squee, oink, 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 ree, 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 oh. Squeal, squeal, snort, snuffle,